Hello, Corey Good here. Welcome. I am here with Mike Wiskoski, and this week we're going to be discussing the Global Galactic League of Nations and how they declared independence from the interplanetary corporate conglomerate and the cabal, basically. So, Mike, how's it going?
Pretty good. Thanks. Thanks again for keeping so frequent with these updates. It's really great. We can continue to explore further on some of these subjects that have been kind of in the background for a lot of people. There's so much going on these days, but it seems like everything is connected on some level. So understanding some of what these things are already being shown seems to help us understand more of maybe what's going on Earth and what could be going on Earth in the future.
Agreed. Agreed. And we are bringing content here very frequently recently, and we're going to keep it up on top of everything else that we're doing. I've spoken recently about the video games that I'm doing, and I've had some interesting responses from a few people. I don't know if you've seen them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of went through some of that myself also when I became addicted to games in my high school and college years. Thought I wanted to go make games. And I kind of had a wake up call, like maybe I need to refocus my energy a little bit. But I still understand that this is just a huge part of our world right now, that people are just wanting to escape and go into a virtual reality and just put all their attention in these game worlds.
Yeah, and that's what happens. And 2.5 billion people on the planet are gamers. That is way bigger than the movie industry, anywhere, way bigger than the disclosure community could ever, way bigger than they could hope to reach. So, yes, what we're doing is, yeah, some of my games are going to be like third person shooter or first person experiencer games. So I'm not, people are saying, where's the love and light in all of this, and, my response is this, I'm creating games for gamers. Gamers are not looking to play love and light games. Now I can see those concepts in my games, but I'm not doing these games to be a law of one preacher. They can go create their games and make it a big deal. That's up to them. I'm going to do what I've always done, is bring my life story and other disclosures related to it to the mass consciousness. And I've tried it. In the community, we saw how that has gone. A lot of people want me to just stick to the community and not go to movies and not go to games. But this is how you affect the mass consciousness. Having access to 2.5 billion minds is definitely going to have a big sway. And like I said, these games are going to be people in the secret space program fighting their way, killing reptilians and fighting the war, stopping and getting briefings. And these briefings are going to be real information, and it's going to be presented in a quasi-fictional entertainment sort of setting, a video game, but we're also going to be doing movies and other projects. So I am not looking for the approval of the community. I'm not looking for, I am not creating games that would be for the community to play. This is going to be, these are going to be games for gamers to play. And as they're getting in and having their, cool time and totally immersed, they're going to be absorbing all this information. So, and I'm going to continue to move into the entertainment industry with some of these documentaries and other things to affect the mass consciousness. It's an extremely big part um, of my mission. And people need to remember, all of y'all first heard of me from a TV show on an entertainment company. And for people to now try to, I don't know, some people try to have this morally superior attitude of what I'm doing is wrong. It just really doesn't make sense. But Yeah, I mean, we have the virtual novel game that's really starting to move along. I'm talking to developers, and it's about to begin development. And then the Liberation Mars game that I've discussed will be coming out in the next 2 years. So I just wanted to address that before we moved into discussing the report.
Thanks. All right, digging into it now. So this was originally posted in November of 2021, and you had said that, and we'll post a link to this original written report in the description below. You had originally said that you were brought onto a manned craft to attend a quote conference call between the SSP Alliance and two representatives for the Global Galactic League of Nations. And so for this, I assume this happened in 2021 also. Is that correct?
It did, yes.
And is this a briefing that you received that was mostly just talking heads, people talking back to each other, back and forth? Or were there visuals?
Yes, it was pretty much all a verbal briefing.
Okay. Yeah, I've noticed in the past when you get the visuals, there's usually a lot more to explore with the visuals, but when it's just words, you don't necessarily have as many details, I'm sure, but we can at least get into your imagining and your sense of what was being communicated, I guess.
Yes, I wasn't given any visuals about of their experience as they were sharing it.
I see. So the Global Galactic League of Nations, you've talked about it many times in the past, but I think it seems like you're getting more tidbits of information about it every time you get these kind of updates. So maybe it'd be good to go briefly over some of the history of what happened here. You said that this was after the Apollo missions that the U.S. government, I assume you mean like the 1970s timeframe, the U.S. government had a team of scientists and politicians approach every nation, telling them about the evidence of the solar event and the cataclysm that was going to happen. And do you know anything about like how the governments were working together? Was this some kind of like the CIA and the intelligence agencies of other countries were arranging this, or was this something that actual executive branches of governments were? Do you know any details about that kind of thing?
Well, you have to remember that pretty much every government is completely infiltrated by this cabal, Illuminati cabal, and they were all working together to uh, massage it and manipulate it, into being. This part of the cabal was working with um, the space program to get to the moon so that they could get some of the beaded glass and other things that was actual matter from the sun off the moon, and then bring it back in a way that wouldn't give away their larger space programs. They already had a base up there. They could fly up there in a matter of minutes with the craft they had then, but that could not be disclosed to these governments. They had to disclose that it was through our conventional space program that we were able to discover this, and then manipulate the heads of governments into being scared out of their minds that their populations was going to be wiped out. So they joined this continuity of species effort where they all donated 1% of their GDP, and their top scientists and all of that were to be just basically disappeared and put into this program. And a lot of these people cherry picked other people around the world that were, like the Russians had were a big part of this, and uh, each man, it's just so complicated. Each colony, there wasn't just a colony that was Russian only. It wasn't just Russian only colonies. They had um, the numbers of people matched on Earth the populations. They had worked out some sort of deal to where on every colony, there was some sort of arrangement to where there was a mixture of all the groups that were taking part in the Global Galactic League of Nations. So there was always going to be, if 12 of the 13 original colonies and different star systems were destroyed, well, this one is going to have the bloodlines of everybody. So they were very intricate about it. There are various moons where they store the in kit forms. Also, they do this a lot, where they could create zygotes out of sperms and eggs of different animals and humans to reproduce us. They have that, and those are maintained. Uh, and they're bases that are just cryogenic bases that are just off on moons. They've gone through extraordinary measures to make sure that all of the genetics and genetic diversity from this planet is backed up across a segment or a sector of our galaxy.
And is this being maintained by the GGLN primarily?
Yes, that's their. Not only are they supposed to live and thrive in other solar systems, preserve culture and all sorts of other things, but they're also to maintain what is essentially like the Noah's Ark in space. And when they've talked in the space program about arcs, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about backups, genetic backups, to that each facility has what is needed to repopulate basically the Earth over a period of time, or another planet like Earth with the same living creatures, diversity of life.
So does this spread out across the galaxy? How much of the galaxy are they operating in, or do they even go to other galaxies?
Yes, they're in different what do they call them, dwarf galaxies, and they've been allowed into a part of the Andromeda galaxy, but mostly they're in the outer rim of one sector of the um, Andromeda galaxy and several sectors of our galaxy, and they're mostly in the outer band or the outer rim of the galaxy, but they have some here and there moving in. But the more you from the outside of the galaxy, as you move in, the more civilizations you run into, and usually the higher advanced. And as you move in towards the middle, they're very, very highly advanced, and we can't even really relate to a lot of those civilizations. So it's mostly the outer rim, to where there are a lot of areas that they could colonize where they weren't going to get into land disputes, so to speak.
It was very interesting to me later on in the update that you said that they were surprised to learn when they found out that there was like a local group of humanoid beings that were in our local star cluster that was so similar. They didn't know that there were so many beings like us. Apparently, were they tricked into thinking that they had to go out to these outer star systems and they had to avoid other races?
They were just never told. None of their colonies are in the local 52 stars, but in the areas where they were colonizing, there were ETs that they were interacting with that were humanoid, and they knew about those, but they did not know about the ones that were so genetically close to us that were all in our local star cluster. They weren't a part of that knowledge.
So was the ICC managing then what they were allowed to know about where to go and how to start out?
Absolutely. They until they declared independence, they reported to the ICC, like directly reported to them.
I see. So you mentioned that 1% of the gross domestic product of every nation was being put into this preservation of species program. And I wonder is this still in place, or how did this come about that this much funding could be siphoned off from our economy? Was this through hidden programs in the government, or through corporations, or all of the above?
All the above. Yeah, it's all the above. Corporations are a big way to launder these this money, but it actually that I don't know if that is still being used or implemented because the GGLN became basically financially independent. They had access to way more resources than they would if they were just receiving resources from Earth and from their governments. Given little, they've become self-sufficient. That's why they could declare independence. They were not reliant on funds, coming in from Earth at all. I mean, it was the ICC that, the Global Galactic League of Nations was a big financial and technological development asset for the ICC. They developed a lot of the technologies that the ICC was selling to over 900 different civilizations.
Wow.
I thought maybe it'd be a good idea. You talk a little bit about what's going on with AscensionWorks TV, and then we can maybe publish this portion to YouTube. And if you want to watch the rest, go to ascensionworks.tv. We'll have the link below.
That sounds good. Yep. So right now on ascensionworks.tv, I've been hosting a lot of live streams and also like Zoom meeting discussions for people. If you go to ascensionworks.tv/schedule, you can see what the schedule is. Some of it will be Q&A, live Q&A with Corey that you can join in. Some of it is Q&A with me and with others in the community. And we're continuously adding more live content so that you can continue to have a way to jump in and be a part of the conversations as we're filming this content. And we continue to do more episodes. Star McKinnon is still continuing her series. My friend Jacob has been doing a great series. And we continue to do more and more Law of One raw contact material content.
Is that what Jacob's series is?
Jacob's series is called Mystery School.
Okay.
Yep. And he's been he's been researching his whole life, and he's been compiling presentations for people on many subjects, and then having unrecorded discussions afterwards, so you can jump in without feeling like you need to be recorded. Everyone's just chatting after he does the presentations. So that's a cool way to get connected.
That is. And while we're talking about content, I know there's probably a number of people out there that might be interested in doing content with us. How would they go about doing that?
Go to ascensionworks.tv/content. We have 3 different ways to apply and tell us about your content and get more connected onto the platform.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. So everyone that's watching on YouTube right now, if you want to watch this update about our breakdown of our Global Galactic League of Nations update, feel free to, on AscensionWorks TV or YouTube, watch the Global Galactic League of Nations declares independence video. We'll put that also in the description. And then we invite you to, once you have an understanding of the Global Galactic League of Nations and that update, if you want more details, please join us at ascensionworks.tv at the link below and follow the rest of the discussion. Thank you.
Thanks.